What's up, everybody? Stephen A. Williams here. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the way that we think. Did you know that we as human beings have over 6,200, that's 6,200 thoughts that go through our mind on a daily basis? 6,200 thoughts. Like, just think about that on a piece of paper. If you were to go line by line, I think on a regular sheet of paper, notebook paper, that there's 36 lines on there. So you would have to have a whole stack of papers with all of those thoughts. Now, a lot of those thoughts that we have are just mundane. They don't mean anything, but they do run through our head. But then we have what's called our priority thoughts. These are the things that we got to think about to be able to make our life manageable. Maybe it's I need to work out in the morning. Maybe it's I need to eat breakfast, or thinking about what I'm going to eat for breakfast, thinking about what route I'm going to take to go to work, or thinking about if it's going to be a lot of traffic, thinking about the kids, getting them dressed and taken care of to get to school, thinking about picking them up from school. So now that I've just kind of went through that minimal list of things that you would think about on a daily basis, you can see how our thoughts could just stack up, and it's just, this is something that is just automatically done. We don't even really put too much thought into it. But then there are some things that we do put a lot of thought into. Things that we are trying to change in our life. So see, all of those things that I just talked about, all of those different thoughts about what I got to do in the morning, what I got to do for the kids, maybe what you're going to do after work, for dinner, all of that stuff, all of those thoughts, you're so used to doing them, it doesn't really take too much energy. Now, I want you to think about something. Think about something that you want to change in your life. Like, you come to an idea that maybe I want to make more money. Maybe I want to change my life. Maybe I want to buy a new car. I want to start this business. I want to make more money. I want to make something of myself. I want to go for my dreams. Now, thinking about those, I want you to, you may not really have caught on to it, but I want you to think about how your body felt when I was talking about all of those things. There's something that happens when you try to do when you think about the things that you don't have and the things that you do have, is that all of a sudden it starts to take energy. So if you don't make a lot of money and you want to make a lot of money, in between that is going to be a heavy thought process, which is going to take a lot of energy out of you. That's why a lot of people, when they start to think about making changes in their life, is that they start to get a little bit drained. And like they'll try, and then they start to get drained. And so what I try to help people do is, which is the things that I do for myself in my life, is to understand the way that our body is built, is that you're going to have all of these thoughts. No matter what, you might as well not fight it. You might as well just understand. We all are going to have these thoughts. But what I've learned over time, and what I want to help share with you to help you get to where you want to be, and where you want to be is on your own level. I'm not telling you where to be. I'm just saying wherever you believe you want to get to, this information will help you get there. So what you should do is that you should understand that you have the power to think about what you want to think about. Now, that might sound crazy. You might be saying, Steve, I do think about what I want to think about. Well, I'm here to tell you that you don't think necessarily about what you want to think about, because this here would prove it. If you were to know that you, like, just to every day pull out your pieces of paper and your 6,200 thoughts that you're going to go through, and you read through all of those before you're able to think about them, you would be exhausted. You wouldn't even want to do it more. Most people wouldn't even do it one time. I don't even think I would want to do it one time. So this is something that is automatic. And because it's automatic, these are thoughts that have built up over time. So these are either the way that you react to seeing something, the way you react when you talk to someone, the way you react when you drive to work a certain way. all of these things are built up. These 6,200 thoughts wasn't just given to you in one package to say, hey, these are your 6,200 thoughts. So understanding that you're going to have those 6,200 thoughts, what I do in my life and what you might want to consider is to say, okay, if I got 6,200 thoughts in my life, what are the thoughts that I am thinking about, and do they benefit me? Because there could be a lot of thoughts that come up. Like you could just see something, and then all of a sudden you could just have a thought, and it could be a negative thought or it could be a positive thought. And so what I do in my life, and what you might want to consider, is that why don't you just understand that those are just thoughts, and those thoughts need to have some type of story built on top of them. So if you can imagine this, let's just say that this is a thought. So this is a thought that comes to your mind, and this is you. So this thought comes to your mind, and what you're going to do is you're going to just play out that thought. It could be an idea about something. It could be whatever it is. And you just need to understand that that thought is already going to have some type of story built on it. It's not just where something is a thought that just comes to your mind. It could be something that like an idea. Like, think about it this way too. So on this side, this could be what other people say to you. Like what I'm saying to you, it's still going to go through the same type of process. The only difference is that when the thoughts that come from your mind, they're going to have less resistance. So let's think about it this way. Let's say that you have this poor mentality. Like you grew up and your family didn't have money. You don't know anyone who has a business. Or maybe you do know people who have a business, but you think that they're smarter than you, that you don't have money, you don't have the education, that everything is against you. Like this is just your thought pattern. So even if let's just say you say, I want to be rich. You say, I want to be rich. This is your thought right here. You're thinking that you want to be rich. Now, this is the thing though. When you make that thought, when you come up with that idea, remember I said those 6,200 thoughts that go through your mind? What's going to happen in your mind is it's going to transform and start filtering in everything that you've had in your mind about thoughts about getting rich. So they're right. Remember I said that they were just like mundane. They're just subtle. I guess I could explain it this way. Those thoughts are just like simmering. They're simmering. And then when you have an idea about, I want to be rich, then a group of those thoughts that you've been thinking about, building on your whole life about, no, not enough money. I didn't come from the right type of family. I'm from the wrong side of the tracks. I don't have the education. All of that stuff that was simmering, those thoughts were just simmering. And then once you came up with that idea, a big bulk of those thoughts came to justify your feelings and your thought processes about you getting rich. And depending on what you have in those thoughts, what they've been simmering for all of those years, is going to usually be the outcome that you have. So even though you may try to put everything into being successful, it's going to be what you have on the inside, your thought processes, what you think about yourself. How do you identify? Because if you don't change your identity, there's nothing that I could do, nothing that anyone else can do that's going to help you get to that next level. Because you have to make that change in yourself. And part of making that change is to change the way that you think. So now let me talk about it from me giving you the idea that you could be rich. Me giving you the idea that you can make changes in your life. What will happen is that there's going to be a huge resistance. There's going to be a huge resistance. Like it's going to be, you might as well say that I'm like, this will be you. Even though you could be standing there like this and you're just talking to me, we're going back and forth. In actuality, you're like this. You're actually pushing me back. The more that I say, hey, you can be rich, you can make a lot of money, you can go for your dreams, you can do all of this stuff, you're going to be just like this. And it's not that you want to be this way, it's because of what you have already built inside of you with all of those thoughts. So when anyone tells you anything that you do not have as your own self-identity, it's going to be like this. You're not even trying to. That's why you'll have people, and you've probably done this yourself, where you'll say, you know, maybe you signed up for a seminar and you want to learn about real estate or learn to get rich and with your own websites or whatever it is. And consciously, you're like this. Consciously, you're like coming, like you would be like, hey, come on in. Let's do this. Let's learn to do this. But subconsciously, you're like this. Subconsciously, you're like this. And this is why when I said it earlier, where I said that it takes a lot of brain power, it takes a lot of energy to make that change, and that this doesn't take, this here has been building over the years. It's been simmering. So when you try to do something, consciously, you're like this. Subconsciously, you're like this. Who do you think is going to win? Subconscious, whatever you have built inside your thoughts, that's going to win. And that's that 6,200 thoughts. Now, let's just times 6,200 thoughts times 365 days a year. And then times that for your adult life. And you can also include when you were, when you were a child. Because that's actually when a lot of this work actually got put in. Because you saw how your family was. You saw how your mom and dad treated each other. You saw how your mom and dad treated money. All of that was building into what you subconsciously thought about money, what you thought about success, what you thought about wealth, what you thought about anything that you could do. Not just money, but really about anything that you could do. And so those thoughts, they simmer, they build. And then you have this self-identity, this self-identity about who you believe you are as an individual. And then when someone tries to help you to become successful, subconsciously you're like this. And it's not that you don't want to help. It's because you can't help yourself. Because you have these 6,200 thoughts. And soon as you start to contradict who you self-identify with, this group of thoughts is going to boil themselves up and say, hey, we are the thought processes of you don't have money, you don't have the education, you didn't come from a family with money. You're not like them. You don't have that education. That's what's going to boil up. And so what you need to do, this is what you got to do. Let's talk about the solution. Let's talk about the solution. And this is what I do. I'm just telling it like it is. This is what I do. When you wake up in the morning, is that you need to manipulate your thoughts. Something that I really did not pay a lot of attention to, but I do pay a lot of attention to it. And the more I paid attention to it, the more it made sense. There are going to be thoughts that just come up, like for no reason. Like, have you ever thought about somebody or somebody say you thinking about that for no reason? Or why are you thinking about that right now? Like, why are you even thinking about that? And that's because it's part of those 6,200 thoughts that your mind is just going to scramble up and send out those messages to you. But you actually have the conscious power to focus on things that you want to think about. So think about that. So you wake up in the morning. Say you're in a bad mood. You're in a bad mood. Did you know that you could just say and start to think, I'm in a good mood? Let me tell you the reason why this is so powerful. Because if you wake up in a bad mood, have you ever thought about this? Why did you wake up in a bad mood? Why? Like, just tell me, why did you wake up in a bad mood? And so if you could just wake up in a bad mood for no reason, can't you get into a good mood for no reason? See, you're thinking that you got to have some good reason to get into a good mood. How about you get into a good mood and then you allow other good things to happen to you? Because I can guarantee you this, if you stay in this bad mood, more bad things are going to happen. Because here's the reason why. It's because for you to stay in a bad mood, you have to start having bad things happen throughout your day. It is not possible for you to stay in a bad mood without having bad things happen to you throughout the day. It could be just the tiniest thing. Let me give you a quick example of something. I remember one of my employees came into work, was having a bad day. And then I said something that was good for them. Like I gave them a compliment and the individual smiled. But here's the thing, is that they didn't really want to smile because that would be inconsistent with their bad mood. So if it's inconsistent with their bad mood and they just didn't want to smile because they wanted to remain consistent with their bad mood, that automatically means that if they just were in a good mood, put themselves in a good mood, and I told them that same information, that they would be in a good mood. And they would feel good, better about taking the compliment. They would feel better about taking that compliment. It's just about thoughts. So what I do for myself is that I just understand. I completely understand that the moods that I wake up in, the moods that I go throughout the day, is that I'm in charge of those moods. And yes, things will happen. Things are going to happen throughout the day that you really can you really control it? Like, why do you think that you can control everything, especially things that are happening on the outside? The only person you control is yourself, and you control your thoughts. So now what you want to start doing is you want to start changing that balance. So when you have bad thoughts, and this is how that 6,200 is going to start working in your favor, because if you have, just think about it this way. If you have 6,200 thoughts per day, and let's just say we were able to change half of those thoughts into positive thoughts. That meant that whenever you had a negative thought from that 6,200, you automatically change it into a positive thought. How do you change it into a positive thought? One way to do it is just to say that no matter what the thought is, it is not happening right now. Like, think about that. You can have a negative thought and it's not even happening right now. And you can have a positive thought and it's not even happening right now. So think about that. Think about that. You can have a negative thought right now. It could be something about your car, and it's not even happening right now. I've had people that have actually said something bad was going to happen, and I'm like, why are you saying that? And it hasn't even happened. Because it always is going to happen. I'm like, it's not going to always happen. But it's always going to happen if you're thinking that way. Yeah, it's going to always happen if you're thinking that way. Remember what I said. To remain consistent. If you have a negative thought and you think that it always has to end up that way, or it's going to be somewhere in that realm, guess what you're going to get? Bad mood, bad things to happen. You're going to see more bad things happening. Put yourself in a good mood, good things are going to happen. This should have been good things. Put yourself in a good mood. You're going to see more good things throughout the day. Not to say things don't happen. See, what you got to do, what you got to understand, what we all have to understand, and if we can get very good at this, is that if we could just think this way, this is what I do. Let's just imagine that this is the day. This is the stuff that happens. All of this just happens. I'm going to just put an H so I don't have to write it out. This is stuff that happens throughout the day. And then we have our thoughts. What you have to practice doing, this is what you really have to practice doing, is that don't connect what happens with your thoughts. Let me give you an example. Let's just say you're a business owner and you lose a client. You lose a client. Do not connect negative thoughts to losing that client. Losing that client is in its own happening. That's something that happened. But do not connect that to your thought process, because that client could leave you for any reason. And you can get those reasons, and maybe there's some reasons that you can work with. Sometimes they're for their own reasons. Maybe they have a money issue. Maybe they're going through something with the family. Do not connect those things that happen with thoughts in your mind, because that could be very dangerous. Because then what it does, remember what I said earlier, is that it's going to boil up. It's just sitting there simmering. And all of a sudden, if you lose one client this day, and then you lose another client this day, you're going to be thinking that, oh, I'm just going to be losing all of my clients. And then all of a sudden, you're just going down this slippery slope of negative thought processes. You're going to find what you think about. What you think about is what you create. These are things that happen. So if you're losing clients, if you're losing money, if you're not, is something not going right in your life, you change the thought process. Change yourself first. Change yourself first. Let me draw this out real quick for you. So I want you to think about yourself this way. This is the way that I think about myself. Think about this. This is you. When you see something happen, something happens. Here's that thing that happened. And then it comes back to you. See, this is why you have to protect the way that you think, because we all thought that it was this way. You saw that happening, and then that came back to you, when in actuality, this is exactly what happened. That's why you got to control your thoughts, is that you see something happen and it comes back here, and then you interpret. You interpret that thing that happened. That's why you should put what happens in its own little box and be like, that's what happened. Because if you don't, what you're going to do is you're going to keep building up. So you're going to see that happen. It's going to come back here, and you're going to interpret what you saw happen by what you have on the inside of you. That's why you can have two people see the same thing, and you're like, I don't see it that way. Another person, I see it this way. And you're like, aren't you seeing what I see? I see it. So why don't you see it my way? The reason why they don't see it the same way is because they interpret it different. They see it here, comes back around here, and then it's interpreted on what they see. So you have to understand that. If you understand that, then you need that by understanding that, let me slow down, by simply understanding that, it will help you to say that what I see happen, I can just put that into a little compartment, a little box, and that's what happened. And understand that the more that you can, the best word I could say is separate yourself from what happens, from having that automatic interpretation come through from what happened, because that could be built on negative thoughts, negative things that happen throughout your life. Instead, just say, that's what happened. Take away that feeling and work on what has happened. And then that's going to help you, number one, not get nervous about stuff, not get emotional about stuff, and to actually be able to have the thought process and the energy to be able to take care of what just happened. Because if you do it the other way, with those 6,200 thoughts for you, if you have 6,200 thoughts that are directed one way, and then something happens that's going to take a high level of your thought process because you're not used to doing it, what do you think is going to automatically happen to you? Is that you're going to get tired. We're all going to get tired. Is that because our thought process was like, that's going to take a lot of brain energy to be able to take care of what just happened. So think about that. So if you, over time, first, just understand, hey, I got to start thinking positive, manipulating my thoughts to think positive. Because regardless of what I think about positive happening or negative happening, it hasn't even happened yet. It has not happened yet. So if it hasn't happened yet, why don't I just put more thought processes into positive? Because even though it hasn't happened yet, what you think about, what dominates your thinking is going to start happening, number one, to you. And then little things are going to be building on that justification of your thought process about what you want to happen. So think about it this way. If you, I said it earlier, but I'm going to repeat it. If you are in a negative mindset, bad mood, the only way that you can justify the bad mood, that you can keep the bad mood, is to have other bad things happen to you. Because then you would flip. You would say to yourself, why am I even thinking this way? And then it goes the same way. If you're in a positive mindset and you're thinking about good things happening, the only way that can stay consistent is that if good things happen. And so what you will start to see if you're in that positive mindset, it could be the tiniest little things. It could be that I was, able to help someone today, whatever that is. But you will start to see that all of these good things will happen. So, but at the core of it is that you're manipulating the way that you think. And you're separating your feelings, separating from things that happen, separating yourself from them and saying, that's what happened. And if I got to work on it, I'm going to work on it. And then that'll allow you not to have all of those feelings and everything boil up just to make what happened so bad based off of what probably happened in the past, that takes away all of your energy to be able to deal with what happens. So please comment below this video. I want to hope that I explained it the right way. This is just the way that it comes off the top of my mind. This is the way that I deal with stuff on a daily basis, and it just helps me make my day more positive. It allows me to have more energy to be able to go through. I mean, I make these videos early in the morning for you, and then I continue on with what I got to do for my businesses. So to be able to, I got to get myself into a good mood sometimes. And but I learned that the more that I get myself into a good mood, the more that I just automatically wake up in a good mood. All right. Thank you for your time. Please post your questions and comments. Please share this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that yet. Thank you.